I don't have a stapler with me.
I am Colin Westmore, I'm consulting. I choose to come up next because I want to piggyback on this issue of cranes, and it deals with 29 CFR 1926-450. We talk about scaffolds, cranes, derrick, and hoists. We did a construction project, and it was a learning experience for us. I think when you go, I think you should know this, before you even start a construction project, you've got to submit a whole safety document, which normally will probably be working for the government, a safety, health, and environmental control plan. You've got to write that plan out and give it to them, and they've got to approve it. And it's got things and stuff like where's the nearest hospital, if there's an emergency, where to call, or whatever action you need to take if there's an incident on the job, who are the people to call, the telephone numbers, etc. But it gets more detailed than that. If you've got to do any task, you've got to write a safe work plan for every task. If you've got to use that crane which you were speaking about just now, you've got to decide if you're going to hoist a piece of lumber or anything. You've got to provide a plan how you're going to do that hoisting of that lumber. You've got to ensure you've got a rigging specialist on site who will rig it the right way so that if it swings, it doesn't fall, and you don't lift it in the wrong way, know the center of gravity and those sorts of issues to move the equipment. I think the most challenging for us is that when we were using equipment and body lift, how the contractor gave us the job. They wanted to have more of their real estate available after you finish constructing the job. So they pushed us up in some very small, tiny corners. And our equipment, they gave us 3 feet space. Our equipment could have moved through there. And in fact, there was one like a mini accident. I go on the site today, and one of my workers tell me, well, one of the body lift slides fell in the building, and it was punctured. Nobody was injured or anything. But those are the things which you really should consider when you're doing a job. That safe work plan for every task, you're doing that environmental control document, which you've got to submit it to be approved before you even start working. And most important, if you don't want to lose money in the job, you ensure you've got space to run that building, that your equipment can move and move freely and move safely. I think that's something which we consider. Up to now, we don't know what is the space you will require if you're doing a building that you have equipment to move around. That's something I really like to find out, because we think we lost a lot of money on that job because it took our workers about 2.5 times more to do a task than was required if we had adequate space to move around the buildings. You know?
Well, to answer that question, first, you did a good job. And one of the things that you want to include on your safe work plan, based on whatever conditions that come up, again, we have to remember, we have to always be cognizant of our scheduling, planning, communication with other contractors, and so on. So if I meet with this contractor, these contractors this morning, we should be discussing that at the projection meeting. Now at that point as well, you would create, you mentioned the safe work plan, but you want to also create the task order. So whatever is in that task, that daily task today, let's say for example, like you said, there wasn't enough space to move around, but you know that was the task that day. So that's something that you put on the table in that projection meeting at that time. We have very little space. We're vulnerable to incidents and so on. We're going to be doing this load, this rigging, this lift, or whatever the case may be at 1 o'clock this afternoon. I need two of your laborers there this morning to open that up for us, and so on. So you have your safe work plan, you have your task hazard analysis, you have your task orders. So these are the things that you have to have, you know, not just take into consideration, but you have to approach it and put it in writing. It's better to put it in writing the day prior. You usually know what your the scope of the language is going to be at your meetings in the morning. Somebody mentioned yesterday working with Skanska, I think it was you, Ed, working with Skanska, they exercise in the morning before everything takes place. A lot of times we're in there having the meetings when it's at that time when y'all guys are exercising. So once they finish, they're loose enough and they're aware enough that you know, their brains are working, and we come out of that meeting and we, hey, this is what you need to do to prepare for this task at 1 o'clock. So that's the task order. Then you have the task hazard analysis and the safety plan approach. Okay?
And the site safety supervisor, every day will have to brief all of the workers about those hazards and tell them what is going to have to be accomplished today and the safe way of accomplishing those tasks.